started, kindly let's use the chat room. Share your name, type your name, tell us whether you are powered by coffee or tea, but also excitingly share with us where you're joining from. But instead of telling us the name of your country, give us a hint about that one exciting thing that represents your country for us to have a very interactive session. So, for example, myself, Francis, the African traveling teacher, I'm always powered by coffee, and I'm joining this call from the Pearl of Africa. So let's keep the room warm and exciting with sharing what powers us, our names, where we're joining from, as we get to dive into this amazing session, as we kick off this learning community. But in the meantime, as we do this, I also want to invite my colleague Adama, who will be taking us into the rest of the session, to jump in, but still kindly continue sharing with us where you're joining from and sharing your names and what powers you. Thank you so much. Exciting to have you with us.
Thank you so very much, Brother Francis. Welcome to you all, and thanks for joining our learning community today. We are so glad and very happy to welcome you all. Thank you so very, very much. Demi, next slide, please. All right, so today I'm in charge of doing a brief description of TLI, and then what we do, who we are, and the why and the how. And then who you are mostly refer to what you believe. Our belief may determine who we really are. And in TLI, we believe teachers are the architects of change. Reason why our mission is to ensure that every child in every classroom receives an exemplary education, developing their full potential as lifelong learner, productive adults, and leading citizens. To reach for such a mission, we need an approach. And as far as the approach is concerned, we believe that when teachers lead, change follows. And at the Teacher Leaders Institute, we believe sustainable educational transformation begins in the classroom. Reason why we try to ignite change across schools, communities, and everybody by cultivating teachers as researchers, innovators, and leaders. Next slide, please. Thank you. And why this community matters, why this community is very important. Because we believe that we are more than a library. Every one of us teaching in classroom or occupying certain position in different schools, we are more than a library. We are a global network rooted in real life classroom experiences. And as far as teacher agency is concerned, we honor your expertise. We believe in the expertise of teachers who are in the classroom, who are in daily contact with the teachers, with the students. And in this community of practice, you are not a participant. We don't want you to be just a participant. You are a leader driving innovation. That's the reason why the goal is to tackle unique educational challenges with practical support and a shared understanding of the changing landscape. Next slide, please. Now, we're proposing a learning ecosystem through different platforms that we're using because we do believe that learning should be continuous. As we want students to be lifelong learners, we want teachers also to be lifelong learners. That's the reason why all of you who have signed for this webinar have already received link that leads you to join this call, but you have also received a link that can help you to join a WhatsApp group through which we will have real-time engagement, and you can receive quick pedagogical tips for classroom wins and instant peer support, a space for informal dialogue, discussing with teachers from all around Africa or the world can only enrich any teachers that is part of this learning community. As far as the exchange and the meetings or the webinars are concerned, for the time being, we're proposing bi-monthly workshops through which we will be able to have interactive workshops in order to introduce core principles of deep and meaningful learning. Still in line with our mission, like lifelong learners, not only students, but we teachers, because we teachers have to show the way to the students. If teachers are lifelong learners, students will follow. And thanks to that, we've also have a Google Classroom that we call the Knowledge Hub. And that will be a place where we'll be sharing resources, and teachers will have access to a curated library of research, templates, and sessions recordings, deep work structured forums for reflective practice and submitting action artifacts from your classroom. And all these resources and expertise will be is available thanks to not only the members of TLI, but you. Because I would like to remind you, we don't want you just to be participant, but you should be among the leaders. And we are honored to have among us our dean, Mr. Rick Campbell, with so many number of years of experience in terms of education, who who is ready and so willing and very happy to share his knowledge with all of us, the faculty, the members of the faculty, and you, dear ladies and gentlemen, who just joined this learning community. Most of the resources we will be receiving, we will see it from Rick, who has, as I said, a great experience and expertise in terms of learning and teaching. I'm going to read a little bit. Like, Rick began his educational career as an elementary school, from elementary school, and later a teacher of science and English literature in middle school and high school. So after 2 decades in K-12 classrooms, he completed a doctorate in education. Having a doctorate in education among us is just a joy. It's just blessing for any teachers who are looking for continuous professional development. And I can tell you that you are at the right place with the right guy. Next slide, please. Next slide, Demi. And now, our learning focus. Some of what we're planning to explore together. You can see the focus area and the objective for each of them. Working with learners is important to be able to identify their needs, and the objective is to understand and differentiate instruction. Today, we're dealing with engagement that can promote active learning technique to boost participation. Assessment, which is among the core, one of the most important part in any learning process or teaching process. The objective is to use formative tools to guide instruction. Collaboration, strategies that can instill among peers for peer-to-peer growth. Um, and last but not least, critical thinking, which is very, very important nowadays. And that the objective is to encourage creativity and social emotional learning, which is of a paramount importance. Next slide, please. Now, How your practice changed the world. How your practice changes the world. Can teachers as a community be a force for educational transformation globally? I would say strongly yes. Because for that, we can get individual growth, personalized professional development, school transformation, equipping leaders to foster thriving environment, global impact, building a force for educational transformation. As a learning community, we have teachers from Uganda, Nigeria, Senegal, any other, or all the countries from Africa and even America. Having that global impact will be possible thanks to the amazing exchange we'll be having through our different learning sessions, starting by the one of today. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Now, we inviting all of you to join the movement. Beyond the inaugural workshop, we're calling everybody to action. You can have access to our open access digital library. Participate in virtual forums for ongoing dialogue. You can also contribute to the knowledge exchange as we believe in co-construction of knowledge. I said it earlier, you are not just a participant, but we want you to be a leader. And teachers are the main force that can truly transform education. Next slide. And there you go. We have here the members of our faculty, starting by the Dean, Rick Campbell, that we will have chance to know more. Damilola Adeni and myself, Adam Majimera. We have the Grace. I like calling her the Grace. The Grace Amoka. You all may have must have received an email from him, which facilitates you joining us today. Next, please. And we have from Uganda, Emmanuel Kimuli, and Zimbabwe, Kudzai Gudianga, and John Mayon, South Sudan, and my twin brother from another mother, Francis Bizoza from Uganda, the traveling teacher. Next slide, please. Please connect with us. The website is, you can see the website on the slide. Let's build the future of learning together as we strongly believe at TLI, together for better. Thank you so very much. Next slide, please. And now I'm going to hand it to the Dean, Mr. Rick Campbell. Over to you, Mr. Rick.
Yeah, sorry, Adama, before Rick comes on, Rick, hold on a minute. Before Rick comes on, I think we can still take about 5 more minutes. Well, because we want to try and get more people to come into the room. So, Francis, back to you. Can we engage the people that are currently in the room, give people a chance to unmute and, do the icebreaker?
Excellent. Yes, this is the moment. This is the moment to make your country shine. This is the moment you're going to share with us where you're joining from, that exciting thing that makes your country stand out. So we are going to have a few people unmute and tell us where they're coming from, and also actually tell us what excites you about being a teacher, what excites you in your role as a teacher. So as you tell us your name, what whether you're a coffee or tea person, your country, that one description for your country. Also tell us what excites you as a teacher. Thank you so much. The room, please feel free to unmute and speak to the team, speak to the teachers. This should be a space for us to feel safe, to feel home, because it's a learning community.
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
So I raised my hand because I was waiting for you to call on me. Okay, so my name is Joy Ifeanyi, and I'm from the giant of Africa. Drum rolls, drum rolls. You know when you call the giant of Africa? Yeah, the people with the vibes, the people with confidence and energy. Yeah, so I'm from Nigeria. Tea or coffee? I think tea. What excites me about teaching? I just like the fact that that aha moment when you teach something and your students get it. It always gives me that joy that I cannot quantify. And I think that's like what keeps me in the profession and what makes me very excited. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Joy from the Giants of Africa. It's exciting to have you with us, and thank you for bringing such wonderful energy here. Who is the next lucky one? Unmute and tell us where you're coming from.
Hello, Francis.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Bola Brown.
Beautiful.
I'm so happy meeting you once again with Damilola, Grace, and Mr. Rich. As we've been together in MTP during the time Greenbell and ALA joined in the program to really equip teachers with lesson planning, unit planning, and all other things that bring positive outcome of the class. So I'm so excited to also join you today. I call from South Sudan. I'm still with Greenbell. I'm teaching mathematics, and I'm really very happy that great minds like Damilola, Francis, Campbell, and Grace have come together again to support African teachers and the rest of the world. Happy to meet you guys. Thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Mr. Burablam. Mr. Burablam was my head teacher when I was at Greenbell, so it's exciting to have you and to speak again. Thank you for joining us. I want to see who is going to be the next lucky one to unmute their microphone and excite us about where they're calling from, what excites them about teaching, and what energizes them. Welcome, welcome.
Can I go, sir?
Please.
Okay, my name is Rukaya Ilyas, and I'm calling from Nigeria, Jigawa State. Hello, sir.
Thank
Can
you
you
so
hear
much.
me?
Yes,
Okay,
go
what
ahead.
about being a teacher is the progress students make when a child is struggling, finally understand a concept. That moment is priceless, actually. So that is what excited me about being a teacher.
Wow. Yes, so thank you so much. Seeing a
But
child you have taught in the classroom make progress is what excites her. What a joy. Thank you. Thank you so much. Who is the next lucky one? How much time am I left with, Damien?
Hello, Francis. This is Rick. I think we can take a few more minutes. I might as well jump in here too. So I am Rick, and I spend most of my time in the United States. I miss being in Africa, where I've been working for 4 or 5 years. I can't wait to come back and see everybody in person. But what I love about teaching, I think we've already heard this from other people too. Two things I love about teaching. One is being with people who are curious and want to learn. There's nothing better in the world than being with other people who care about the world and care about learning more. And I think the other thing I love about teaching is that I never stop learning. I've been doing this for a long time, and the more I teach, the more I find out how much more I have to learn, which keeps me excited and happy and yeah, keeps me young.
Thank you so much, Rick. And actually, your humility is a piece to reckon on for most of us, and exciting for us to share with you what really excites you about teaching. Thank you so much for that. I can see Ferdinand's hand is up. Please, we are eagerly waiting for that excitement from your side.
Can I go next?
Yeah.
Ferdinand is going next. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Ferdinand over here. Just very excited. Meeting with a lot of my fellows, the coaches, and our Dean Rick, and then with MTP, and again once more here. I'm great to join the TLI webinar and hope to continue more engagement. So what excites me most about teaching is seeing kids of my fellow teachers being able to get solutions to some of the basic problems which affects their learning. And I'm as well glad that I have assumed an administrative role. So if I see that there is a common problem maybe affecting teachers, which is this and that, and then we come together to brainstorm. So I feel happy if we get solutions to problems. And I'm very happy being here. Actually, me and my colleague Prosper, who were part of the MTP, we had plans of we had organized workshops and trainings this term and even continuing term in supporting teachers in improving their approaches to teaching, similarly to what MTP was doing. And actually, we had plans of using the MTP resources we were using. So, seeing a platform, TLI coming back on board and actually bigger, and I had some interaction with the Google Classroom. I think this will be a big boost for our school community in a way that we shall be able to add on all the entire staff also to be able to be part. So this will really aid and improve our professional experience together as a team. So I'm very glad being here and very excited meeting all of you.
Thank you so much, Ferdinand. It's a pleasure for us to have you back again. And my assignment for you is that in the next call, by the time you leave this call, you'll be empowered to go and deliver the training to your teachers. But in the next call that we have, we need to have all your teachers joining us. So that's an assignment to you. Thank you so much. There's someone who wanted to go. Please, I didn't pick your name,
Yeah,
but
hello.
kindly unmute.
Maybe before she comes, I can jump in.
Okay, please.
My name is Prosper Arob, and I am from the only country in the world where River Nile starts to flow. And of course, that is the Pearl of Africa, Uganda. Tea or coffee, I would go with coffee. And then what excites me about teaching is that I love to see what children can do as a result of the teaching and learning that takes place in their classrooms. So that is what excites me most about teaching. With the other, Fernand has talked a lot, so I will come in maybe later when there is need. Thank you so much. And thank you, Rick. Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you, everyone. It's good to get back again together.
Thank you so much, Prosper. We really appreciate your presence. And Baliski, your hand was up. Please, we can't wait to hear from you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Akol Balikis. I'm from the Giant of Africa, a country with gray, white, and green on the flag. So it's nice to be in this room today. What excites me about teaching is the fact that when you see a learner that people assume doesn't know anything, and you were able to explain some concepts, and when that light goes on in their brain and you see the excitement on the learner's face, that's, oh, I know this thing, that joy that comes in to your heart, that fulfillment, that, oh, I'm part of this change. I'm one of the people that really that inspire this person, or that enlighten this person, or that is able to turn on the light in this person's mind. So that's what excites me about teaching. And also, Mr. Dami Adeni, it's nice seeing you. It's been a very long time. And he was actually one of the people that inspired me to become a teacher. He wouldn't know because we've not really discussed this before. So thank you.
How amazing, how amazing. I am sure Dami feels so great, feels so excited, feels so proud. I think this is what we should be doing and inspiring more people who go through our hands, more children, more learners to be teachers. How much more time, how many more minutes? I probably want to give a chance to one person, the last person, and then we can proceed. Who is going to be
Yeah,
that lucky one?
that is correct. Yeah, one more and then we go.
Okay, hi. Good evening from here. And hello, everyone. I feel excited to be on this call, to share with so many professionals. My name is Ezekiel from Nigeria. So tea or coffee? I prefer coffee. And then what excites me about learner is to see that every learner, regardless of their learning condition, are able to move from point A to B. I mean, advancing in their learning gains, So no matter how little or how small the movement is, so long as they are able to grasp something, that is the motivation for me. And I hope to be able to learn so many more from the professionals here. And thank you. And over.
Thank you so much, Ezekiel, for closing us off and muting the microphones and sharing with that awesome deep voice. I'm sure the learners are always so attentive and listening when you start speaking. So thank you so much for taking up that opportunity to finalize this session. And I will want Dami to jump in quickly and get us to the next session with Rick.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks so much, everyone. It's been, quite exciting to see people come and join us on this call. Of course, what we're starting here is a very unique, it's a unique opportunity to have different, expertise. And I think I want to just reiterate that, we're all here to learn from each other. It's not one of those platforms or settings where there are the experts and the rest of it are just students and learning from everybody else. But it's a community of practice. We're all professionals and we're learning from each other. And so your participation, your engagement is very, very much important to the survival of this community. So just wanted to mention that. But of course, I don't want to take too much time. We actually had about 58 people register for this event. But of course, we know how it can be sometimes. And also because we have so many time zones, it's always very difficult to ensure that everybody can attend at the same time. But we just have to go ahead and get started. But this meeting is being recorded and we'll share with everybody that actually registered to be here. And of course, we will continue to engage with each other on our different platforms. We have a Google Classroom, where we're going to be using to share resources, share our experience. This virtual workshop will happen once every 2 months. But in between that period, we will continue to engage each other on our platforms. Of course, WhatsApp is very convenient for a lot of people to just have some quick chats, but sometimes we would, have reflection sessions. If you have questions that you're worried about or something that's bugging you about your practice, just share with us on the platform. And of course, other people will be happy to jump in and then share ideas with you. That is why we exist and that's why we're doing this. So without further ado, of course, I'm going to hand over to Rick, who is going to take us for today's workshop. And then, of course, welcome once again, everyone. Over to you, Rick.
Okay, thank you, Dammy, very much. Yeah. Hello, everybody. I think a lot's been said already, and I appreciate everybody taking the time to listen and be present. We're going to jump into this session and hopefully have time to talk with each other in smaller groups and to think about some of the big ideas that are going to be part of today's workshop. So, as some of you may have gathered, some of the people that have come on and introduced themselves have known us in the past. And I think you should know that a part of our history is that this group of people, the people who are running this workshop and some of the teachers here are now part of this workshop, were part of a initiative called the Master Teacher Program, which I designed and started about 5 years ago. And it was hosted at that time by the African Leadership Academy. But we have all decided that we need to take that work and really make it happen in a much bigger and better way. And so we're here at the Teacher Leader Institute to change education across the continent of Africa and hopefully the world. And we believe that that change only comes from one place, from the classroom, and that the leaders of that change are teachers. And so each of you here with us today, we are here to get together as a team, to work on our classrooms, to work with fellow teachers, and to change what happens for our students. So thank you all for being here. I think today you should know that we'll move pretty quickly. I'm going to try to introduce a few key ideas, and you'll have time to read about them after this workshop. And we will have, as Dami said, some continued contact with you. So there's going to be ways that we can continue to look at some of the things we talk about today and move them into our practices as teachers and share them with other teachers that we work with. So I think that's important to remember as well. But right now, we're going to do something that I love to do with my students. And when my students are teachers and my fellow teachers, we do it together as well. And that is we're going to do a little writing. So I hope you all have a pen and a paper handy. And the first thing we're going to do is what I call free writing. For many years, I belonged, and I still belong actually, to a group called the Institute for Writing and Thinking at Bard College in New York State. And I was the associate director. And we'll talk about this more over time, but writing has a certain power to help us think, to reflect, and to notice what's going on in our own minds as we're learning things. But sometimes writing is also just a chance to sort of find a center and be present. And so what we're going to do right now for just 2 or 3 minutes is we're going to engage in silent, what I call free writing. And what I mean by free writing is you're just going to put pen to paper and write whatever you want to write, and see where it takes you. So it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. It's free in the sense it goes anywhere. And it's also free because you're not going to share with anyone. It's private writing and it's just for you. But in many ways, it's for us because it kind of brings us together into the same space for a few minutes. So I'm going to stop here. I'm going to time us for about 2 or 3 minutes and just put the pen and paper and write. Thank you. I hope you're all with us. And as you can see from the slide that's on the screen right now, we decided that what we would talk about in our first webinar, our first workshop with our community, is one thing that sounds simple, student engagement, but is actually quite complex. But it's interesting because in the free writing I just did, one thing I was recognizing every time, the first time I always ask for free writing with a group of people and I start to write, I get nervous because it's so quiet. And when it's so quiet in a classroom, we wonder what's happening, right? But all of a sudden I realized we get quiet when we go to church or to the mosque or to the temple. And we get quiet there because it gives us a chance to quiet down inside and be present for what we want to experience in that church or that mosque or that synagogue. And I think in a classroom, we take the time to be silent and to free write. We try to bring our minds and our feelings and our thoughts into the classroom together. And I hope that's what begins to happen for us. We'll be doing some more free writing and talking about that as we move ahead. But let's talk about student engagement. All right. This is a very simple statement, but I love it. When students want to learn, they will. You know, if only it was so simple, right? If students want to learn, they will. And that's about motivation. We know that the motivated student will always succeed. They will persist, they will stick it out, they will try to solve the problems, they'll try to learn what needs to be learned. But what makes motivation? That's the thing we want to talk about today. So, student engagement, the key to deep and meaningful learning. One thing I want to introduce just to start with here is a concept that a researcher named Richard Elmore has constructed, and you'll have access to the reading. And in these slides, you'll see there's a connection where you can get the reading online. But he has a wonderful way of talking about the classroom and student learning and what we do to improve student learning. And he calls that the instructional core. And he says there's only 3 things we need to think about as teachers. Those things aren't necessarily simple, but it does simplify it to realize there's just 3 elements that make the classroom and make learning happen. One is the content, right? Whatever we're teaching, whether it's science or reading or history or mathematics, right? What is the level of that content? Are we really teaching them the deepest forms of understanding in that content? What is the quality of student engagement? How are students actually interacting with that content in the classroom? Are they just sitting there memorizing things? Are they actually thinking and working through problems that build deep understanding and build memory because they're actually using the things they're supposed to learn? And the third thing, of course, is us, the teacher. What are the skills and knowledge that we need to have to think about the level of our content and the ways we engage the quality of student learning, right, in the classroom? So it's hard to separate these, and yet we need to think about them as three elements that constitute learning in the classroom. They're interdependent. You change one, you have to change the other. But we, of course, today are going to begin with the question of student engagement. And what we're going to do is move into some questions that I want people to sort of have at the back of their mind. What does effective student engagement look like in the classroom? Yeah, can we define it? It's an interesting question. We'll see by the end of this workshop whether, what we're thinking about that. As a teacher, what do you do to promote student engagement? Can we actually identify and explain our actions, the things we do and why we do them? And what do you do when students do not engage or they disengage? Can we also name and explain our actions when those kind of things happen? And of course, in thinking about that, we wonder, are there ways we can do that even better, right? What might we change? And that's, of course, the big question that we're trying to look at a little bit today and consider. Okay, so we're about to do some more free writing, but this time it's free writing to a prompt. In other words, there's a question or two or something that I want us all to write about that will begin our thinking, all right? And so here's what I want you to do. I want you to think for a minute or two about a learning experience that you've had where you were fully engaged as a learner. This doesn't have to be about school learning, right? We've had lots of learning experiences in our lives, learning how to cook a meal, learning how to build a piece of furniture, learning how to teach, and we've also, of course, learned lots of things in school. But I really want you to think about that experience that you had sometime in your life. It may have been you were 12 years old, it may have been 22 years old. Who knows? But it's something that when you think about it, I was really fully engaged and a learner. And what I want you to do is to try to tell that story, to take a few minutes to write about the experience. What was it you were learning? What was the situation? How did it unfold? Who was there? What happened, right? And that's what I'm going to ask you to do. So I'm only going to give us about 4 or 5 minutes. You won't be able to tell the whole story. Once again, I'll sort of say, listen, you got 60 seconds to sort of finish what you're writing. You won't get the whole story down, but you'll begin to call up that memory and look at the details of it. So hopefully that makes sense. So once again, we're going to write, and I'll give you about 4 or 5 minutes here to think. You may need to, think for a few minutes. Sometimes I can't remember that experience. I may start to make a list and then I find the experience I want. But take about 4 or 5 minutes to think about a learning experience and tell that story. Okay. Thank you, everyone. We're going to move to our next slide here. Let's see if I can get it to move. All right. Wait a second here. Oh, there we go. All right. So we're going to pick up this writing again in just a minute or two, but I just want to bring another idea to the table here. And this is probably the biggest idea about student engagement and what makes students engage, what motivates them to learn from inside, right? And so there's a theory that was actually developed in the 1970s by two psychologists at the University of Rochester named DC and Ryan. And they did this research, and this research now for the last 50 years has been carried out all around the world at various universities and various schools with every age group and every kind of subject and every kind of learning situation. And the theory says that a learner needs only three things to engage in deep and meaningful understanding. Just three. And that's what we have to think about as teachers, right? A, a learner needs an experience of agency. And what agency means is that the learner has a feeling there's a choice, there's autonomy, there's control, that somehow they are the leaders of their own learning, that they, yeah, are taking the steps they need to take. They're not looking to other people to decide what to do. They're able to make decisions for themselves. Okay, so agency. A second thing is a feeling of competence. In other words, I can make a choice and have autonomy, but I also need to feel like I have the ability, the know-how, the self-efficacy, that I think this is something I can do, right? It's within my grasp, even though it may look challenging. So I have choice, I have ability, and finally, it's meaningful. There's some connection. There's some what DC and Ryan call it relatedness. There's something I can relate to that makes me want to do it. It has value somehow, right? Um, and that value in a classroom can come from at least three different things that I can think of. So in a science classroom, for instance, a student may just love science. They love learning about astronomy. And so they're just there because it's something they really care about. It has meaning to them in some way. Or maybe they're learning about ecology and they care about the world. So it has value because we know that we need to take care of the earth, right? Uh, but maybe it's not the subject. I have a student who doesn't like science at all. But the reason they like science class is because they have a relationship with the teacher that they value. And because they like the teacher and the teacher seems like a person that they care about and want to have a relationship with, they're going to go ahead and study the science to connect with that teacher. Or maybe the meaning comes from learning with their fellow students. Maybe in that classroom, there's a lot of collaborative learning where students break into groups where they get to talk with each other, they get to carry out projects, and that feels good. That has social meaning, right? And so meaning can come from different places, but those are the three things: agency, competence, and meaning that all of us as learners need. And again, here's some readings that you can follow up with and read that give some further, thinking to this issue of self-determination theory. So I want you to keep this in mind: agency, competence, meaning. And now I'm going to ask you to go back to your story. We're going to do a little more free writing. So you've got a story you've just told. Look at your story and take a few minutes to look at it again. And here's what I want you to try to write about, what I'm going to write about as well. Where in your story do you see you having an experience of agency or a feeling of competence or a sense of meaning? What does it look like? Okay, does that make sense? So I'd just like you to take a few minutes now. We're going to be silent again for about 3 or 4 minutes to look back at our stories and see if we can name moments where, as learners, we felt agency, choice, a sense of autonomy, like, yeah, this is mine, a sense of competence, I think I can do this, and a sense of meaning, like, I want to do it for a reason, right? There's something that's motivating me. So I'm going to ask you now to take another probably 3 or 4 minutes just to look back at your story, put your pen to paper, and identify those things. And then we're going to go into some breakout rooms to try to share some of this and talk about it and see what we find in common. But for now, look at your story and see if you can identify these things as a learner and your experience. Okay, welcome back. I was just being a 12-year-old again in the story I was writing about. I hope all of you are making a journey to some good memory of a learning experience. We are now going to go into some breakout rooms, get a chance to talk a little bit about what we've written. And just to make clear, I like to be explicit or transparent about what we're doing, but this practice of writing, you may have noticed, is what we've done is we've written about something we know, right? A past learning experience. So any of us can do that. So when I ask a classroom of students in my science class, let's say, to write about an experience, they can all do it, which is motivational, right? They know they have the competency to do that. I'm asking them to write about themselves and their own experience, right? They get to pick what they choose to write about, so they have some agency or choice in that. And so we begin sometimes learning by looking at stuff we already know, an experience we've had that we can connect then to other sort of ideas and thoughts. Um, and that to me helps to build motivation as well. So we're going to go into breakout rooms now and hopefully do some learning together through sharing our experiences. So our goal in the breakout room is to share our stories. You'll have facilitators in each room, and we'll go around the room and we'll share some of what we've written and talk about it. But by the end of it, what we want to do really is identify examples of agency, competence, and meaning. What do they look like in different learners' experiences? Okay. So, Dammy, we need to go into the breakout rooms now, Dammy. So help me out here. Are we ready to do that? You're muted right now. Yeah.
Hi, Rick. Yes, we are ready to do that. So what's going to happen now is we're going to the breakout rooms. I also left a message, so anytime you want to move to another room, just let me know because we're having some people come out and go in, so I want to be able to manage that. But yes, we're ready to go. So once you just say the word. Now, in terms of the slide that you just shared, I've shared with the facilitators in each room. So I think when you go into your room, you can actually project that screen. I think that should be um, slide, let me see. Yeah, that's slide 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So whenever we're ready, I can just open the rooms. So 20
All
minutes,
right.
right, Rick?
Okay, go ahead. And so we're going to send you into breakout rooms. You'll have about 15 or 20 minutes, and we'll all come back as a group then and figure out, what happened and what we can share and talk about. But please, yeah, go ahead, Demi. Send us into our rooms. Yeah.
All right. Adama, you're group 1. John Mayam, you're group 2. Francis, group 3. And Kudzai, group 4. Yeah. So let's go.
Close the rooms. I think everybody's returning. We have 12 back in the main room. We should end up with 20. Let's see what happens. We had some people come in and come out during the breakout room sessions too, unfortunately. I think we're having connection problems. So yeah. We got 50,
There were
we
even
got
some, like in my room, I only had one person, engaged. So, but I
oh
mean, that's the thing. We are connecting from all over the world, so there will always be internet issues and what have you. Yeah, hopefully
yeah.
we do better from now on.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's very important also, even if we take it in the classroom framework. Sometimes students some come earlier, others come late, and then we have to see how to manage that. Some students can easily get things, others need time to catch things that we're learning. So these are issues that we face in our daily life. So as a teachers,
Yeah.
we need to
Yeah.
understand that.
Right. Well, thank you. I get everybody. I hope we've got almost everyone back together again here in our common room. I know some people had connection problems, but thank you all. I hope you had some good conversations. Um, yeah. So, yeah. So, does anyone? Let's just, maybe the leaders in each room could, sort of. Is there anything you want to give back to the whole group here? I mean, I think, we had discussions in smaller groups, but is there something to share here as a larger group? Let me do this actually. Let me move on to the next slide. And if I can, yeah. Maybe this will help a little bit our discussion. So, what we're talking about with engagement is motivation, obviously. And there's two kinds of motivation. And so, this is kind of interesting to think about what you shared in your groups, because we have what's called intrinsic motivation, which means motivation that comes from inside. When a learner comes to the classroom or to any learning situation and is intrinsically motivated, they're going to learn everything we want them to learn. Extrinsic motivation, on the other hand, not so great. And unfortunately, in schools, we have a lot of extrinsic motivation, right? There's grades that students worry about. There's fear of punishment. There's embarrassment about taking a chance to answer a question and getting it wrong. And you can see on the right-hand side here under extrinsic motivation that quite often the outcome is separate from the learning, right? So if we ask a student to memorize a bunch of words, they'll do that, but that's not necessarily what we really wanted to learn about. It was not the words, but the bigger ideas, right? Um, in extrinsic motivation, we're controlling what motivates students. We have external expectations like grades and everything else. There's rewards. And you can see this list here. It's behavior is controlled by compliance. Students worry about how they look, how they perform. But when we're intrinsically motivated, all we care about is learning. There's pleasure. We have agency. We have flexibility. We want to really learn the thing that's out there on the table. Um, and that's what's motivating us. And when that happens in a classroom, everybody's in it together as a community of learners. I'm wondering, I guess, how much of that did we hear in our own personal experiences? Maybe we could go around a little bit. Kudzai, maybe from your room, did you hear some of the things that line up with this idea of intrinsic motivation?
Yes, yes. For example, we have Joy. She decided to learn how to use a computer.
Ah,
It was her own decision, and she did it with so much passion because she really wanted to know how to use it and how to program, etc. She said no one told her to learn the computer, but it came from within. She didn't wanted any external rewards to learn the computer, but it was from her. Okay, maybe Joy, you can explain further. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
sure she's having challenges.
yeah, Joy, did you want to add anything to what Kudzai just described?
No, that's okay. I think she captured it very well. So when I
Okay.
wanted to learn how to use the computer several years ago, like I shared to them in my group, I said it was something I wanted to do. I had a choice to learn how to sew or learn how to maybe make shoes and bags, but I chose to go for, the computer. So it also that motivation was what helped me put in all my best, everything I had in me, to learn it and get it. Yeah.
Right. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Adam, I see your hand is up. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Rick. And I would really love if Ezekiel and Balkis will be ready to share what they have shared in the room one, because we had a very good discussion. And then that discussion to lead to three main points. Like in any learning process, like confidence in oneself is very, very important. And that's what we have all shared. And observation skills has also been shared during our discussion. Like, and it leads us to discuss a little bit the method of I do, you do, we do. And then that ability to connect learning into reality, that also show up in our discussion. And then I would love to, if Ezekiel and Balkis can share a little bit with the group, because I really enjoy sharing the room with them. Thank you.
Yeah. So there's an invitation
Ezekiel,
here, I
Balkis,
guess.
feel
Yeah.
free.
Okay, so
Thank you
thank
so
you so
much.
much. Ezekiel, you can go.
Taking turns here. Yes, go ahead.
Proceed, please.
Okay, thank you so much. Adam has really captured it. For me, it was a class, my first class in year one undergraduate days. When I had this phonetic class, I was kind of overconfident in myself that it's a phonetic class. It's something I've been used to since secondary school days. So coming to class, my lecturer just said, okay, go to so place and come back to class. On this day, go to so place and come back to class. So when we came back to class, it's an environment I also used to. So when we came back to class, it started asking questions. And I was kind of confused that, okay, this is a place where I'm used to most of my life. So why is it that I'm unable to answer these questions? So the major thing he pointed out was, yeah, you're used to the environment, but your observation skills needs to be sharpened. So I had to go back, observe what is in the environment, and even came back with more than what I was expecting. So that really sharpened my observation skills. And that has led me to the way I impact my learners in class. Thank you.
Thank you. Ezekiel, were you going to share? Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. For what I shared, a couple of extrinsic factors, made me learn embryology back during my undergraduate days. The lecturer's approach towards presenting concepts, and for the fact that he will always, no matter that concept, he will always look out for a real world example that you can easily relate with, and narrow it down to what you can see in your immediate environment. So those are the two things: the grades and the way the teacher has presented the course. So those are the motivating factor for me to have been able to scale the course despite the failure rates recorded for that particular course. But because of all those extrinsic factors that has motivated me to want to excel in it. That was what helped me, and so far it has shaped my presentation skills also, to ensure that in presenting any concept to learners, I should ensure that it is what they can easily relate to. That way, they learn faster, and that way it reduces so many aspects of memorizing or cramming concepts. Instead, they will have the deep knowledge, and they can be able to synthesize it by applying it in real life. Thank you.
Thank you, Ezekiel. Yeah.
I think in my group, I had an interesting conversation from Omar about how he had a situation where there was an election where they needed to vote for a president, and there is one they wanted for their community who really he thought would create change and impact in the community, and he had to take time passionately to understand the intentions of this president so that he's able to convince other community members to vote for this president. I don't know, Omar, if you really want to share something about this experience you wrote about.
I see still muted, maybe not ready at the moment.
No, that's okay. But it's interesting that the first of all, there's agency in voting, right? So if we think about these three principles of self-determination, um, but it's important and meaningful, right? Picking a leader. And so it sounds like Omar really set out then to learn what he needed to learn so he could vote and make the best decision possible for himself and his country, right? So very profound. Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, we have been at this for a long time, and I don't want to keep us too long because I know that everybody has things to do. Um, but let me just move through. You're going to have access to these slides, which I hope will help you think about some of these things. But um, you know, when we think about our classrooms, right? If you all talked about learning experiences of your own, and in many cases they weren't school experiences, but my experience as a teacher has been that I sometimes teach a subject that students may not really be interested in, or they come into the classroom and they don't really want to learn it. How do I change that? How do I shift that? What happens, right? And so these are just some very quick notes I made about different kinds of subjects. But, you know, if if and you can look through this on your own time a little bit later, but how do we help students first of all feel like they've got a choice, that they've got agency or access, right? That there's some autonomy in their learning. We need to think about that when we plan our lessons. Um, how do we make sure that they feel that they are comfortable, that they can take on that challenge? And though it's something new and different and challenging, they feel like they have enough that they know or enough that they can do to tackle that challenge. And how does it become meaningful? And I just sort of, put in some different ideas here from my own experiences over time, right? But for instance, when I have students in a reading class, I want them to predict the outcome of a story using evidence from the reading. In other words, do some interpretation work. I often, even before we read the story, I give them a prompt. I said, think about a time in your life when this happened. And the thing that I ask about what happened to them is a parallel to that story. And so now I can say, now you're going to read a story that's very much like what you just talked about in your own life. That has meaning, right? And they now have a reason and a connection to that story that allows them to read it. It's not just something that the teachers assigned them that they want to do, right? Or in my science class, I'm teaching a concept. Now, I could just give a lecture and tell them, here's what I want you to understand, and here's how this thing works. Or I can give them a demonstration and ask them to observe. What do you see? Let's take notes on what we see. What do we understand about what we see? And now they're taking control of the knowledge. And over time, I can ask questions that help them think about it more deeply, right? And actually engage in scientific thinking. But I think in every subject area we have to think about how do we give students some choice? How do we present problems that are interesting? In a math class, for instance, I'm teaching fractions. I can give three or four different kinds of problems and say, you choose which of these problems you want to solve. And I may say, you can work on it with a partner. Or I may say, you can use any materials you want to try to figure out an answer. And now students have choices. They have ways of thinking about things. They have ways of working. And that really changes what happens in the classroom a lot. And I think we heard Dami say something I thought was very interesting, which was the idea that you can ask students what helps them learn. And now they have even more autonomy. They feel like they're part of the process of planning for learning and planning for the classroom. So there's a lot of ways to think about this, but it requires us as teachers, of course, to look back at our planning, look at the ways we talk to our students, look at the way we ask questions, right? And these are just some principles I thought of, as I was making up these slides, right? Is that these are some of the things we can do when we plan that invite students to engage in ways that are about intrinsic motivation, about learning for themselves. And then our job is just to be coaches, to help them, to offer information or questions or ideas as they're moving through things. We don't have to lecture so much. We don't have to tell them what to do. We don't have to say, you've got to do this because you're going to earn a grade. They want to do these things because they feel like they have choice. They feel like they can tackle the problem, and they feel like they're part of a learning community that cares about these things. It's fun. It's interesting, right? So these are just examples, and I won't read through them all because we are running out of time. Um, so this is an activity I thought we would do, but I think we are kind of out of time to do it, and I think this may be the next workshop, right? But it's something you can do on your own, which is to think about a lesson that you've taught, or maybe a lesson you're getting ready to teach, and think about what in that lesson how have you planned that lesson where students have some choice, some agency? What in your lesson, in the way that you're presenting it, gives them some ownership, a sense of autonomy? Where in that lesson, in the way you introduce it, do they feel like I can do this? It's an interesting problem, but I think I can do it because of this, this, and this, right? Um, why is it meaningful, right? Why would the students care about doing it? Have you planned your lesson in ways that help them make it meaningful for themselves in some way, right? So when Omar makes a decision about going to vote, that has meaning because he knows he's selecting a leader of his country. Now, when we're teaching, we're not voting for leaders of our countries. What do we do that gives students a way to choose because it's meaningful, a way to understand it is meaningful? So we need to think about that lesson, and maybe we need to think, I got to change some of these things, but that's difficult. That's where we go back to those three elements of the instructional core. Our teaching skills, our knowledge, do we know how to change a lesson? Because quite often, as teachers, we're required to teach the curriculum that's required by the government, by the Department of Education, or the Ministry of Education. How do we take that content, that material that they're supposed to learn, and make it into something that the students want to learn, that the students can have some choices in learning and that kind of a thing? And that is our problem as teachers. It's a big problem. It's a big challenge, right? So we were going to go into breakout rooms and actually do some of this work, but maybe we can take a minute right now. And as you think about this and you're planning, and you think about your own experience as a learner where you had agency and you had a sense of competence, what are some questions you have? I'm curious to hear what people are wondering about right now as teachers when they think about planning for the lessons and how they teach lessons. You can just raise your hand. Whoops. And yeah. Sorry, just a second here. Yeah. No one has any questions, huh? Yes, Adama. And Dammy. Adama first.
I think it is still based on the discussion we have. For me, one of the questions I may have while preparing my lesson is how to use the most relevant example that I can use in the classroom and helping the students to build the connection between what they're learning and their real life situation. As Ezekiel shared during our group discussion, any teacher being able to use example in which students can like build connection, that is an important part in any lesson planning. So that's one of the questions I have. Thank you.
And Dammy?
Yeah, I mean, it's always an ever, present question as to how do we always find meaning in what it is that we are trying to learn, especially when it comes to our different curriculums. I think that one of the much needed skills for any teacher is how do I interpret the content of the curriculum to then find how does this relate to the kids? How does this relate to why the kids need to learn this? For instance, you're supposed to learn about skeleton in biology. Why is this important to the child? Like, why is it important for us to learn about this? And then of course, our different contexts also come into play. You're learning about, certain animals. how do you relate that to the concept of what you're learning to what the experience and the needs of the kids are? So I think that it's always a question that comes up anytime I'm thinking about learning design or, like coming up with a learning plan, like, how do I interpret this, very abstract concept that the curriculum has asked me to teach? How do I then translate it into something that the kids will find meaningful?
Yes, and Adam has invited people to write questions into the chat as well. Yeah. And I think you've hit on a big difficulty, right? We're required to teach subjects that at first a student may think, why do I need to learn, like you said, about a skeleton, right? uh, and quite often our answer is because you have to pass a test on it. That's not very motivating. It's not something that gets us excited, right? Oh, it's something I have to do because I have to take this test because I have to get a grade, right? And we know what that looks like in the classroom. We've got a group of students who just are not very happy or excited about what's going on. So how do we take that content and turn it into something that is important, right? Um, we might, you know, I have to think about that a little further about the skeleton thing, but I might start out with a question to students. Hey guys, let's all imagine for a minute what it would be like if you had no bones in your body, right? Let's take a minute to free write about that. What could you do without bones that you can't that would be fun? What could you not do that you need bones to be able to do, right? And now it's something a little personal, right? I mean, without bones, I'd be a little blob on the floor, right? So that's kind of a funny story I can write about and what it does for me. And then we can begin to think about, well, so, okay, but are all the bones important? There's a question we might start to think about. Maybe I don't need toe bones, right? Maybe my foot was just a single bone. So I think we ask students to, I mean, in some ways, biology, human biology especially, we end up caring about a lot because we can think about ourselves, right? Um, but it's how we bring it back to the students, how we're not learning the bones just so we can name the bones. We're learning about the bones because, hey, guess what? I'm able to stand up and run around because of my bones, right? Um, I'm able to play soccer, football because of my bones. So, um, yeah, it's an interesting thing. Um, I think there's a couple subjects that are harder that way. I think mathematics is another one. People wonder why they have to learn it. And I'm betting that some of the people who are sitting here right now in our Zoom room together um, didn't love mathematics when they were studying it either, right? So it's kind of interesting. What would have been different or made that different, right? Um, yeah, very, very interesting. And in some cases, what that means for us as teachers is that we need to learn some of those subjects a little bit better too, so we understand what's interesting about them, right? So, yeah, there's a wonderful book called The Mathematician's Dilemma by a mathematician, and the entire book is about what is so much fun about math just by itself. To read that book gives you reasons and ways of teaching mathematics that changes the whole way you think about it. So, yeah. All right, guys, I know we're kind of running out of time here. Um, so some things we need to think about. I think these are to me, some key questions, right? What are the skills and knowledge we need to improve the instructional core, and how does content need to be adapted? And I think we've just discussed a little bit of that. So, yeah. All right. Let me get back to okay.
Yeah.
So in these slides, which we're going to be sending to everybody, there is a bibliography. I've made some notes about some of these readings. And in every case, there's a link that will take you directly to that reading. So the instructional core we talked about, this book by Johnson called Choice Words is probably one of the best, my top 10 books in education because it's how we talk to students, which is about our relationship to students and how we help students to see their own agency and their competency in the classroom. And it's a real game changer, right? And this piece by Carpenter and Hebert is a way of presenting things like mathematics or any subject that make those subjects interesting and meaningful. So I think some of these things in the bibliography you might find very useful. Yeah, and here's some more things as well. This second piece by Reeve talks about how do you actually build autonomy and agency in your students, right? So any of these things you can access through these links and read for yourself. So we're going to stop because it's late. We've been together for 2 hours now. And I think, Dami has already mentioned this, and so has Adama when we first got started, but we will be reaching out to you. There's a WhatsApp group we hope you will sign into in a Google Classroom. And we want to hear from you. We'll send out a survey because we'd like to get together again soon. Dami, when do we expect to have our next session together as a group?
Yeah, so this workshop is actually going to happen every 2 months, but
Right.
in between then, I mean, I'm already seeing some questions in the chat room. I mean, you place that question in the Google Classroom, for instance, any one of us is going to try to respond to that, even other members of the community, because I mean, we are the community, you are the community. So, like these questions that you're asking now that we're unable to answer, go ahead and share that on the platforms, and someone is going to approach that, and then of course our Google Classroom is where we're going to be putting a lot of these resources, because it's easier to manage resources or readings on Google Classroom than WhatsApp. So every resource we've shared today, we will share with you on our Google Classroom as well. So if you're not there yet, please make sure you sign up. So in between now and the next 2 months, we'll continue to have conversations and questions. Feel free to share your experience in the classroom. And if you even have a practical question like, oh, next week Monday you're supposed to teach this topic, you like to get some ideas, post it on the platform, let other people, other members of the community, throw in some ideas for you as well. It's the community is you are the community. So post your questions, and we have a lot of expertise on this call, then of course people share from their own experience as well.
All right.
Thank you,
All
Dan.
right.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dami. Thank you so much, Rick. Thank you so much, everyone, for the active participation. We would really, really love so much to hear from you. So there is a link that Dami just shared in the chat room where you can fill in your attendance, give us feedback so that we are able to work on your certificate. There is an exciting certificate for attending this session. So don't miss to fill out that form for us to have your participation, your full names, to ensure that they are well put on the certificate. Otherwise, we really appreciate you making time for this session and looking forward to continue the conversation on the WhatsApp, on the Google Classroom, and in the next series of the sessions after every 2 months. Otherwise, thank you so much. And if there's nothing much more, we would love to end it here.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say, I just noticed there were two questions in the chat. I just responded. I will send out a response to those questions. And I think as a group, we may have other people who have things to say too. And together, I think we can build some very good answers to those questions. But Dami or Francis, or whoever, how can people continue to send questions to us? And what's the best way to do that?
I think we can
Yeah,
use the WhatsApp.
Yeah, there's a WhatsApp room. We're all there. There's also they can also comment, especially when you want to like see resources. You can also do that on the Google Classroom as well. So whichever one is comfortable for you, or you're more convenient with, you're free to use any. We are all there, and someone is definitely going to respond to your question.
And I would like to add also, like some works have been already shared in the Google Classroom. That was the class work before the sessions. Feel free to read them. That may be a resource that can answer your questions or deepen reflection, and it can lead to other questions that you can still ask in the WhatsApp group. So feel free to use them. As I said in the beginning, some of your questions, as Rick said, will be answered, and resources will be shared to deepen understanding based on the question that you have asked. Thank you.
And
Okay,
maybe
well,
if it
yes, go
doesn't
ahead.
hurt, I wanted to request if it is okay for us to have our videos on and have a picture to kick off that we use that show that we have kicked off this community, this learning community. So if it is okay with you, kindly get your video on, and the dummy will help us have a picture.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. Be great to see everybody's faces. Yes, this is our family. This is our group. We are going to change what happens in classrooms, right? And lead the way. So
All
thank you for that
right.
invitation. Yes.
Okay. Anybody else coming on? Thank
Okay.
you.
Beautiful. Look at all those wonderful faces. This is great. Okay.
Awesome.
Awesome. Awesome.
Fantastic.
A
All
few
right. Do we have
more.
more?
Sheila, Samba, Omar. Yes,
Stay.
come on. We need to see Astu. We need to see those faces. Yes.
Okay. That it looks like that is it. So cheers, everyone.
Thank you so much.
All right.
All right.
Done.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, everybody. Have a very
Bye.
good rest of your evening. And well, I look forward to seeing you all again and bring more people with you. We want to grow this family. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.